The night after the Game Awards, and I'm here today, Ratbags, to give you my reaction and talk about Light No Fire, the next game from Hello Games, the makers of No Man's Sky. This is a fantasy, procedurally generated game set on planet Earth. Well, a kind of planet Earth. It's going to have multiplayer, it's going to have single player, it's going to have just co-op, it's going to have you running around a procedurally generated Earth that has infinite potential and apparently infinite biomes and explorable space with taming, proper RPG combat and base building. They've been working on this a while, we know that. They've teased about 2 years ago publicly that for the first time they've been working on some parts of their team. In fact, apparently they've been working on this for 5 years and it looks like it may not necessarily be a huge amount of time waiting for it. Sean Murray, the founder of Hello Games, has previously stated that yes, they won't have a lead up as long as they did with No Man's Sky, as that's what helped cause so many of their marketing issues and basically trying to please and give people something new and exciting to talk about, which weren't quite fully developed. And yes, this is the next big follow-up to No Man's Sky, which of course is now considered roughly a good game. It's had update after update, putting so many other games to shame, but of course some of the people in the comments will always forever remember the launch and the shoddy state of it. So we're going to discuss all that, we're going to break down the trailer in a little bit of slow-mo and talk about what it potentially could have and doesn't have. And is this going to be the next Ark Killer, which is still the #1 survival taming game out there? I think this has got a great chance to really become everyone's favourite new survival open world sandbox game. Overhype? Yeah, maybe, a little, but the trailer definitely is impressive and some of the tech that's powering this, actually a few other games are experimenting with as well. So let's go, deeper dive into the trailer and more info. So no release date as yet, only one announcement of where you can actually maybe play this in the future, and that is Steam. No Xbox, no PlayStation logos, absolutely zilch. This says to me that they're not going to overdo themselves and try and launch on simultaneous platforms this time and really concentrate on just one, get it right and then ship it to others. Or it's a come and get it exclusive plea to either Microsoft or Sony to back them and give them further funding for it. The blurb from the Steam page says it is a venture, building, survival and exploration game together, set on a fantasy planet the size of Earth. It brings the depth of a role-playing game to the freedom of a survival sandbox. It's going to be a proper multiplayer world. You can play with your friends, you can just play on your own, or you can actually go out there and discover what other players have left. You'll be able to find the constructs and ruins and pretty much other communities in the world. Very much maybe similar to what No Man's Sky is at the moment, with on PC I do believe up to 32 player kind of universes. I think this should be expanded, I hope so anyway, if it's really truly going to be a multiplayer game like that. But no details yet of exactly how many players. We only ever see around maybe 6 to 8 players max on screen at any one time. No mention at all of any kind of PvP mechanics. I can't imagine they're going to try and shift into that space. This will all be PvE. A truly open world with no boundaries at a scale never attempted before. A massively varied and dense planet filled with immersive biomes, unique enemies and valuable resources to discover. The Earth is ancient and you're not necessarily the one hero. It's thick with lore, mystery and a constant fight for survival inspired by the adventure, charm and imagination that we love from classic fantasy. Todd Howard moment here. Every mountain can be climbed and below them lies endless vistas, oceans and continents perhaps no others have seen. Who will climb the tallest mountains? Who will find the deepest sea? Set sail across vast oceans and rivers, ride wild beasts through fantastical landscapes, fly dragons over undiscovered landscapes. Really feel that Steam page should have had a bit more work on it there, but you get the idea. They're going to be having a slew, I'm guessing, of interviews as IGN is teasing that they've got more info to reveal. And yeah, there is a chance this could just come out next year. No Man's Sky took about 3 years from its initial reveal to its actual release, but they definitely have learned from that, and that was part of the big problems, that they felt like they were trying to please and show people a bit and talk about stuff they wanted to add to the game, but a lot of that obviously meant that people were expecting it at launch. So just by showing only gameplay only, no release dates, no expectations, but maybe release next year is probably the best thing. So they may be the first to actually implement this in a proper game that will release, but it's not the only developer doing this. Brendan Green, the creator of PUBG, he has been working on his own game that is apparently set on a Earth-like planet, and again procedurally generated, where you can explore, come across other players, or maybe never find another player because it's going to be so large and so dense. We love No Man's Sky, some of us anyway. We love the aesthetic and the art and the looks of it, but there's definitely a kind of fatigue in seeing the very similar kind of biomes and there's similar colour palettes. Even though you do come across some really outstanding, different and unique ones, it does all become maybe a bit too much in terms of just blending and blurring together. There's definitely some really fantastical creatures, almost alien-like in this trailer, but it does help there's actually more Earth-like beings, Earth-like creatures that we can recognise. Whether it's the characters we play as ourselves, it's going to have a robust character customization where you can actually play as a hare, a badger, or maybe just a regular human. And of course the mounts really show a big plethora, from dragons to hummingbirds. Mounts and creatures, as well as maybe some of the vehicles in No Man's Sky, apart from the airships, are a little bit janky. If they can nail this and get that feeling, that's really fun to utilise these creatures and roam around and have very differences, pluses and negatives from all of them, then this could be a massive game changer. And again, especially targeting that Ark Survival Evolved Ascended crowd. It's been a while since we had a proper sandbox survival game. The last one I can really think of that has tried has been Dark and Light, and that was made by Snail Games, and that was an utter dismal fail as they abandoned it pretty much only a year and a half after development. It's been rotting in early access now for about 6 years and has no hope of ever being completed. So yes, I think people are definitely down for this. I think we've had a fair share of space games of late, and so now it maybe is a time to return to something a bit more fantastical. By my count, throughout the trailer, there's at least 8 real significant changes in biomes that we see, colour palettes and maybe atmosphere and environments, from mountains to underwater to maybe cave-like to desert. There's at least 5 different types of creatures on show here. We've got this larger dragon, and then I do believe on the right hand side it might look very similar, but it definitely looks a bit wider or fatter, so maybe more variation. And even the dragon in the distance looks like it's got slightly longer wingspan. Here's another shot of one of them perhaps creatures. Jackdaw perhaps, mounts, flying ones at least. And then we've got the hummingbird as well, followed by what seems to be maybe the same creature, but I think there is still some subtle differences between this kind of bewildebeest or wildebeest style creature. Again, maybe just variations, but this one seems to have different markings or maybe more hair on its back. Multiple NPC locations, much like in No Man's Sky, outposts where you can go and trade, buy new goods, and maybe get clues about stories or leads to take where to explore next. And then player settlements, something that players have actually built themselves with a unique different style of building. You can see the brick wall going up very gradually, assimilated rather than just placing a blueprint and materialising straight away. Really reminds me of Rust, what they've been doing recently. They've just revamped their building style. So yeah, very simple, typical survival mechanics. Chop trees, gather stone, and then build up the base that you want with your friends. Not sure about a twig support for a stone wall, but you know, this hare I'm sure he knows better than me. The base designs though definitely look like something fresh, and again really within that fancy style, sort of twig, thatch and stone kind of settings. The whole game has kind of got that palette of No Man's Sky, but it definitely feels a bit more nicer, seeing recognisable fauna. Huge scale of mountains though that apparently you can go ahead and climb. So not many games have really managed to crack the underwater kind of gameplay. Maybe Subnautica is probably the best example going, but this does look really interesting and varied. Massive octopus or squid in the background there, so hinting that it'll be very dangerous in the waters and maybe worth exploring. Hopefully with some sort of water mount. It doesn't really show anything like that in this trailer. There's obviously kind of Viking style longboats that you can use to get across the waters if you're not got a flying tame. We see some of these briefly in the water down below, and possibly different styles of longboats or rafts, that one looking more like. In fact, it's almost a split-second shot of seeing these Viking longboats here, and definitely look like the ruins of one of these was in the water too. Other cool stills that I've managed to pull out is using this magical stave in a very alien desert-like environment. Setting this as an outpost with that flagpole maybe, or going towards some magical construct. More beginner tools and ways to get around the world if you don't have a tame, hang gliders, and again different variations of them as well. Bow combat with some nice effects going off, I'm guessing from some sort of elemental type weapons or arrows. Skeletal enemies and his babies or her babies, looking like something directly ripped from Jason and the Argonauts. When you really slow this trailer down and start looking at this stuff, it does look absolutely fantastic. I've been praising No Man's Sky for absolutely years now, seeing the turnaround that they've made themselves, even against still some harsh criticism from fans with long memories. But it's time to let that go. I think this game is absolutely doing the right thing. If it's all going to come out and just no extra or over-promising stuff, deliver on what you say is going to be in there on day one, and if things will come afterwards, then make sure that is known clear. It definitely looks like more survival as well. It seems to have sort of proper night and day cycle. You can see maybe on the bottom left there, various different symbols to indicate whether or not you're out of water or in. So temperature and stuff like that is something you're going to have to manage, making sure you've got enough gear to go into the colds or survive in the desert. The bottom right is definitely your weapon, which one you've got equipped. So whether it's a club or just a stave, that changes to a bow in later parts of the actual trailer. And yeah, let's hope in that they can really nail the RPG mechanics. Has to be said, No Man's Sky, as great as it is with all the updates, it does get a bit monotonous. You do feel like you are just kind of still doing very similar things over and over again. Even with all this new stuff they've added, etc., it still doesn't always alleviate the grind for resources, so I'm hoping this might be a bit kinder. I'm guessing not though. If it's a multiplayer game, a truly sandbox open world one where you can come across other people's builds and settlements, then the idea would be teaming up with them to achieve some of that is going to take a while, and if you're on solo play it may take even longer, but we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. It's very clear from the marketing so far, it's not really an MMO. They've not listed it, they've not advertised it, it's not pronounced anywhere on Steam or any of the articles that have come out so far. Multiplayer or co-op, not MMO. So I'm not expecting to see hundreds of players, but like I said, it could be something along No Man's Sky where you saw maybe up to 32 eventually, or you just find the remnants of a civilization. So yeah, I'm adding it to the survival docket. If you want more news about this game, make sure you're subscribed. I'll be here first to give you the details, as long as it's not another Game Awards show. And I'll be back with more analysis as soon as we get the interviews that come up from IGN and some of the other articles I'm sure that will pop up. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.